My wife faked a miscarriage to hide a child she had with my stepfather, so I revealed the DNA test results during a live-streamed family therapy session. What if I told you my wife faked a miscarriage to hide a secret pregnancy, and the father wasn't who I thought, but my own stepfather? That's exactly what I discovered, and the moment I revealed the DNA test results during a live-streamed family therapy session, everything exploded in ways I never expected. My name is Jason. I'm 34, living in suburban Michigan. Married for 6 years to Sarah, or so I thought. We blended our families, her 2 kids, my dad's second marriage to her mom, trying to build a new kind of family, full of hope and trust. But beneath the surface, secrets lurked, darker than anything I could imagine. It started with strange behavior from Sarah, withdrawn, distant, making excuses about her health and why she wasn't feeling well. Then she told me she'd suffered a miscarriage. I was devastated, heartbroken for her, ready to support her through grief. But something didn't sit right. The way she avoided questions, the timing, the gaps in her story, it gnawed at me. My suspicions grew when I overheard whispered phone calls, messages deleted too quickly, and her avoidance of family gatherings. The truth hit me like a freight train when I found out she had a child she never told me about. Not with me, but with my stepfather. I was stunned, furious, betrayed beyond words. How could the woman I trusted betray me like this? And worse, with a man I considered family. I couldn't keep it inside. I confronted Sarah, but she denied everything, twisting the truth and gaslighting me. That's when I decided to get a DNA test, to have proof. And I took it a step further. I revealed the results in front of the whole family during a therapy session. We decided to stream live, hoping for healing, but unleashing chaos instead. What followed was raw, painful, and shocking. Families broke apart, truths spilled out, and my life was never the same. But through it all, I learned about betrayal, resilience, and the hard road to finding peace when everything you believe in shatters. I couldn't believe what my ears were hearing when I first caught Sarah whispering late at night, trying to hide her phone from me. The way she spoke, the urgency, it all screamed secrets. I kept telling myself, maybe I'm imagining things. Maybe she's just stressed. But the gnawing feeling in my gut refused to let go. When she told me she'd miscarried, my world cracked. I wanted to hold her, to be there through the pain. Yet, the cracks only deepened. Her story didn't add up, the timing was off, and she avoided my questions about doctors, ultrasounds, or any evidence of a pregnancy. I felt like I was watching a carefully scripted lie unfold. Red flags started popping everywhere. I remembered times she'd abruptly leave family dinners, or how she'd dodge calls when my stepfather's name popped up on her phone. Memories I'd brushed off suddenly felt like pieces of a dark puzzle clicking together. Inside, I battled a whirlwind of emotions, confusion, betrayal, heartbreak. How do you process the idea that your wife might be hiding a child? Worse yet, that the child might not be yours? I hated feeling like I had to spy, like a detective in my own home. I hated feeling stupid for trusting so blindly. Still, the doubts kept piling up. One night, I saw a message flash on her screen, a text from my stepfather that read, "I'll always be here." My heart twisted. That wasn't a message between just friends or family. It was something more. I confronted Sarah gently at first, desperate for truth. But she shut me down, deflecting, denying, turning the blame onto me for not trusting her. That's when I realized I needed more than words. I needed proof. I secretly arranged for a DNA test. The waiting was brutal. Every day was filled with dread and anticipation. I wasn't sure I was ready for the answer, but I knew I had to face it. When the results came back, the truth hit like a punch to the gut. The child was my stepfather's. Everything I'd feared was true, and I had the proof to show for it. I knew this wasn't something I could keep private anymore. Our family was already tangled in lies and betrayal, and it was time to bring everything into the light, no matter the cost. I couldn't keep the truth bottled up any longer. The weight of the secret was suffocating, eating away at every part of me. I decided it was time for a confrontation, not just between Sarah and me, but the whole family. If there was ever a moment to rip off the bandage and face the raw wound, it was now. We scheduled a family therapy session, hoping it would be a safe place to unravel the tangled mess. Little did we know, it would turn into a live battlefield, because we decided to stream it live, hoping honesty might heal. But instead, it exposed every ugly truth. The room was tense the moment we sat down. Sarah's eyes darted around nervously, while my stepfather wore an unreadable expression. When I laid the DNA test results on the table, the silence was deafening. The reality hit harder than any words could. Sarah's calm facade crumbled. She tried to explain, to justify, but every excuse sounded hollow. My stepfather stayed silent, avoiding eye contact, a ghost among living accusations. The family I'd known for years was unraveling right in front of me. Viewers watching the live stream were stunned. Comments flooded in, shock, outrage, sympathy. The betrayal wasn't just private anymore, it was public, raw, and unfiltered. The emotional fallout was brutal. Tears, screams, and confessions filled the room. I felt everything at once: rage, heartbreak, disbelief. This wasn't how a family healed, this was destruction laid bare. But beneath the chaos, a strange clarity emerged. The truth was out, and no more lies could hide behind smiles or silence. It was the beginning of reckoning, even if the path ahead was uncertain and painful. That day changed everything. Our family was shattered, but at least now, we were all forced to face the reality we'd been avoiding for so long. After the explosive therapy session, the fallout was immediate and intense. The private wounds we'd tried so hard to hide were now laid bare for everyone: family, friends, even the community that once embraced us. The betrayal wasn't just personal anymore. It had become a public spectacle that changed everything. Sarah retreated into herself, guilt and shame wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket. She stopped coming to family gatherings, avoided phone calls, and the once vibrant woman I married became a ghost in her own life. My stepfather, who had always been a figure of authority and respect in the family, was now a source of anger and disappointment. The man I looked up to was unmasked as a liar and a betrayer. The rest of the family was torn apart by loyalties and heartbreak. Some sided with Sarah, others with me, but no one could ignore the fracture that now split us all. The very foundation of what we called family was crumbling, and it felt like we were all falling with it. Through the pain, I realized I had to focus on what mattered most: my daughter. She was innocent in all this chaos, and I was determined to protect her from the damage as much as possible. But that was easier said than done. The whispers, the sideways glances, the questions from neighbors, it all reached her in ways I couldn't control. Meanwhile, I started therapy to deal with the emotional wreckage left behind. The betrayal, the loss, the anger, they all needed an outlet. I had to learn to forgive, not for Sarah or my stepfather, but for myself. To move forward, I needed to reclaim my peace. Looking back, I understand that some wounds run deep, but healing starts when the truth finally comes to light, even if it shatters everything first. The days following the family meltdown were some of the hardest I've ever faced. Every step forward felt like wading through quicksand. The betrayal cut so deep that even the smallest reminders, photos, conversations, places, would send waves of pain crashing over me. Financial stress piled on top of the emotional turmoil. The legal battles, custody disputes, and potential fallout with my stepfather added a heavy weight to my shoulders. I wasn't just fighting for my dignity anymore. I was fighting to keep my daughter safe, and shield her from the toxicity swirling around us. Surprisingly, amidst the chaos, I found support in unexpected places. Friends I hadn't spoken to in years reached out, offering words of encouragement and a shoulder to lean on. Online communities of people who had endured similar betrayals became a sanctuary where I could share my story without judgment. Therapy sessions helped me untangle the mess inside my head. I learned that healing isn't linear, it's messy and slow. I faced my anger head on, allowed myself to grieve, and slowly started to piece together a new sense of self that wasn't defined by the betrayal. I also began to rebuild relationships with those family members, willing to step back from the drama and support me. It was a delicate dance, full of setbacks and small victories. I realized forgiveness didn't mean forgetting, but choosing peace over perpetual pain. The road to recovery was long and winding, but with every step, I grew stronger. I wasn't just surviving, I was reclaiming my life on my own terms. Starting over meant more than just moving on. It meant reinventing myself entirely. I left the town where all the memories and whispers lived behind and settled in a new city where no one knew my past. It was a blank slate, a chance to breathe without the weight of betrayal hanging over my head. But the scars didn't just vanish. At night, when the world was quiet, memories would flood in, faces, voices, broken promises. I questioned myself constantly. Did I make the right choice? Was I strong enough to leave everything behind? The doubts gnawed at me, but with every new day, I pushed harder to heal and grow. The new environment brought fresh challenges, but also unexpected blessings. I found a supportive circle of friends who didn't judge, who helped me rediscover joy in simple moments. I focused on my daughter, nurturing her with love and stability, determined to give her the childhood she deserved. Then, out of nowhere, a message arrived that shook me to my core. I know where you are. It was a stark reminder that the past can follow you, no matter how far you run. Fear surged through me, but alongside it was a fierce determination. I wasn't going to be hunted or silenced again. That message sparked a turning point. I tightened my boundaries, secured my life, and prepared to face whatever came next. No more running. It was time to stand firm, to protect my family and reclaim my peace once and for all. The road ahead remained uncertain, but I was ready to walk it, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. Facing my wife and stepfather again was something I dreaded, but knew I couldn't avoid. The day came when we had to confront everything: the lies, the betrayals, and the tangled mess of family secrets that had torn us apart. The air was thick with tension as I sat across from them, eyes locked, hearts pounding. Sarah tried to play innocent at first, her words carefully chosen, trying to minimize the damage. My stepfather, once a figure of respect, avoided my gaze, his silence louder than any apology. The room was charged with raw emotions: anger, sadness, disbelief, all boiling to the surface. As I laid out everything I'd discovered, including the DNA results, their facades cracked. Sarah's defenses crumbled into tears, but it was too late for regrets. My stepfather's silence spoke volumes, a tacit admission of the betrayal. The confrontation wasn't just a moment, it was a turning point. I told them I couldn't continue living in a house built on lies. I needed to protect myself and my daughter from further pain. Walking away from them was the hardest and most freeing choice I've ever made. It marked the end of a toxic chapter and the beginning of my reclaiming life on my own terms. Though the wounds still ache, I know I made the right decision. This was my path to healing, strength, and ultimately, peace. After walking away from Sarah and my stepfather, a heavy silence settled over my life. The chaos, the lies, the betrayals, the broken trust was gone. But what remained was an emptiness I hadn't expected. I didn't cry. Instead, I sat alone in my quiet apartment, the ticking clock louder than any noise I'd heard in months. Memories of happier times, the smiles, the laughter, the promises, haunted me like ghosts. I found myself flipping through old photos and rereading texts that once brought comfort, but now only reopened wounds. The pain was raw, but I realized it was also a sign of how much I had survived. There was a strange beauty in this brokenness, a testament to my resilience and strength. I began sharing my story online, hoping to reach others trapped in similar betrayals. The outpouring of support was overwhelming. Messages from strangers who understood my pain reminded me I wasn't alone. Therapy became a lifeline, helping me untangle the emotional mess and rebuild trust in myself. Healing wasn't about forgetting, it was about accepting and moving forward. One evening, I looked out at the night sky and noticed how vast and clear it was, like a promise of new beginnings. The scars remained, but they were no longer wounds. They were reminders of survival. This chapter of my life closed with sorrow, but also hope. A new beginning, waiting just beyond the horizon. If I could speak to my younger self, the one who believed in love, trust, and family, I'd tell her this. Every tear, every scar, every betrayal shaped the person I am today. I wouldn't erase a single moment, because without that pain, I wouldn't have found my strength. I don't have all the answers, and I don't know what the future holds. But I've learned to live with the uncertainty, the doubts, and the shadows of the past. Sometimes I still think about Sarah and my stepfather, the people I thought I knew and the strangers they became. And sometimes I wonder if they too are struggling with their own demons. I walk forward without hatred or revenge. There's a strange peace in acceptance, even when things don't end neatly. Life isn't about perfect endings. It's about finding meaning in chaos and choosing who we want to be. Maybe this story is mine, but maybe it's yours too, because everyone has secrets, betrayals, and moments when the people closest to us break our trust. What matters most is how we rise after the fall. So if you're listening and feel lost or broken, remember this. Darkness never lasts forever. There's always a dawn, even when you can't see it yet. I left that chapter behind, but sometimes, in dreams, I still return. Not to relive the pain, but to find the parts of myself I thought I lost. Not all wounds need healing. Some scars are meant to stay, to remind us that we truly lived. That's my story. Maybe it's yours too. And if you're struggling, hold on. The night is darkest, just before the dawn.